Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. Hey, you looking better, exit ASAP, 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 ASAP,
You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580, hour 2. You're ready. So we're gonna, in hour 2, finish up our conversation about Slim Thug, Cassie, Diddy, all of that. We're gonna get into A$AP Rocky and his charges. We're also going to talk about Amber Rose in a recent interview. She revealed how heartbroken she was when she and Wiz Khalifa broke up. So we're going to talk about Angel Reese and LSU. But before we do that, and before we get into, because I really want to mention and talk about this new California requirement in schools, because I think it is excellent and very important. Let's wrap up this conversation. So we did not hear Slim Thug's apology. So let's listen to what he came back and had to say in response to the internet sort of saying, boo, you're being mean.
That was my personal opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, we don't agree on everything. I can still take you to Starbucks and buy you a drink, and we can sit down and chop it up. Like, I don't hate nobody. I don't even hate Cassie. It was just my opinion. I ain't wanted to go worldwide. I don't do this to ever be on social media, other pages. I just be talking to y'all, my people. Yeah, so, you know what I'm saying? I on here every single day. I do this every single day. I just give y'all my opinion. That's it. I don't make nothing. I'm just speaking from, my seeing life and seeing what happens in life. You know what I'm saying? End of the day, but if I said something wrong, correct me. Say something, tell me. I'm here. I'm not running from nobody, you know what I'm saying? But I don't agree with a lot of people on a lot. But at the end of the day, we don't got to agree on everything to have a conversation.
So, one, he's right. I feel like people are too caught up, and I think it's mainly a social media thing, but it probably has spilled over into real life, that it's black or white. It's either my position, your position. There's nowhere in between. There's no agreeing to disagree either. And I think that is unrealistic. That is not real life, and that's not going to get you far. As far as with this, though, I mean, people are like, well, it says a lot about what Slim Thug thinks and what would happen, as a woman if you were in distress and he was there. He wouldn't be supportive or believe you. Perhaps, but that is something that his friends will have to deal with. I think it's just whenever you're dealing with interpersonal relationships with men and women, I think it gets hard. It gets hard because there are subtleties that the general public aren't going to be aware of. There are triggers that the other may know how to push. There might be secrets. There might be things, again, that they were okay with at the time that they changed their mind about later. And I'm saying this in general, not specifically in reference to the Cassie and Diddy situation. I think it's just something that at times can be hard to regulate because a lot of it is lack of communication. But sometimes, people are open to try something because they like someone or they want, the person they likes it, so they want to see, Now, how that comes about and evolves and develops, there is a difference between suggestion and manipulation. However, in some instances, that line could be a fine line. So we'll have to see. Jerry Anderson said the last piece was the most important. The need to make a living, or the thought that something could impact your living, is the reason that anybody swallows BS. It absolutely is, of course, 100%. But my question is, and again, this is a question with no judgment to it, because I understand you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes it's hard to come by another position that has the prestige, the salary, whatever the case may be. At what point, though, are you accountable for continuing on if there's something there that you feel is egregious? At what point is it on you to change your circumstance, to try and find another role elsewhere? I know all the reasons why that's not easy, and I'm not saying that, but at what point does your own integrity have to kick in? And at what point is the person that, introduced you or put you in the position no longer responsible, and it becomes a choice for you? Again, that's said with no judgment. I'm legitimately asking, and I know the answer will be different from every person, but I think that it is something to consider, because everyone has agency, and we're all taught right from wrong, and that we're supposed to stand up for this and that. And I'm not judging people that do what they got to do to make things shake and to put things together and hold things together. We all have a different tolerance level. We all have a different situation that we're into. I am simply asking, at what point does the responsibility come back on you as an individual, no matter how you're introduced to the situation? It's just a question. Of course, we're not going to get all the answers tonight, but it's just something I wanted to know. Speaking of, an interesting thing started happening. Maybe there were others. These were just the two that I noticed. When the allegations first came out, both Naomi Campbell, who, I think sometimes calls Diddy her brother, and Janet Jackson, who had just, both of them, partied with Diddy for his birthday in London not too long ago, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, seemed to remove those photos from their grid on Instagram. I don't know what it means. I don't know if they're distancing themselves. I just know that it happened. So, again, we'll have to see how this all plays out and how different people move, because now it's just allegations. We have no discovery, and the case has been settled, and that can mean any number of things, but nobody is going to speak on it. We're just going to be patient and watch what evolves and what develops. When we come forward, we're going to get into the new California law for K through 12 that has to deal with the media. I think it's very important. Of course, we're going to get into this ASAP Rocky story and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So to put a bow on the Slim Thug conversation, we have to play you his previous comments about Bill Cosby. And I think what you will find is that Slim's a little jaded. And he probably thinks Bill was about to buy NBC. But, let's hear what he had to say.
Bill Cosby is not guilty of all that. They were getting high with him, having fun with him, turning up with him. When they went broke, they started trying to do all this extra. Get the out of here, man. I ain't turning on my heroes over these old fake money grabs, man. Straight up like that. And make that go viral. I ain't turning on my heroes over these lame ass money grabs. Straight up like that. You ain't finna turn my heroes into motherfucking all this weird you turn people into trying to get some money. This is why women don't come forward. No, if somebody did something to you women, come forward. Tell them then, though. You know what I'm saying? Tell them then. Or around that, go tell somebody you love. Tell your mama. Tell somebody, please. But when you waiting all this time, and then you sue and you ain't go to the police, it sounds suspicious.
So, one, jaded. I mean, again, we just saw a couple months ago, what was it, Trevor Bauer, that was the former Dodgers pitcher. The girl accused him of choking her and all of these things. And turns out from her text messages, she may have set him up. That's what it sounded like. She targeted him. She said she was going to get money. She said she was going to have him choke her and be freaky and, whatever. Right? So it's complicated. You hear about that. And it is, especially for me, believe women. But I do understand that sometimes these cases can be complicated. Interpersonal relations are sometimes hard to navigate from the outside in these situations. And if possible, it's best to wait until a trial and all the information comes out. But we won't be having that in this instance. So we just got to take it for what it is. Take Cassie at she has her peace of mind now and some funds to go along with it. And Diddy is going to continue to be Diddy in whatever form or fashion. And we're going to move around. I also think it's unfair, though, that people were hitting up Carisha expecting her to make a statement. And I'll tell you why. She wasn't with him when these things allegedly happened. They were well over a decade ago. He might be a different man now, maybe. I don't know. And she can't, as a woman, be held accountable for something he may or may not have done. And I get it. Maybe you want to question, how can you be with someone like that? But you guys were always questioning that anyway. But I do think that as much as it is unfair, we feel, to question Cassie in that way or ask those questions, at least so soon. Um, why are you going to then turn around and pit another black woman who has nothing to do with what happened prior? Nothing. She can't answer for that. She can't answer any of those things because she wasn't there. So, although I understand, what do you want her to say? I'm standing by her man. She might be, but she doesn't necessarily know all the information either. So, I think it's a little unfair, Andy.
I think we're probably curious to know what's going on right now, though.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people like, so y'all still hanging out? What's the status? Y'all good? He good?
But more so when I say
what she thinks of everything?
Not what she thinks about the situation, just what she's going through now.
Oh.
Her current relationship. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen some things? Have you engaged in some things? Who knows? She might have been a willing participant. Just curious to know if the behavior is consistent.
If the matches. But here's my question, right? I know does she owe us that? Does she owe to say, well, he seems changed to me, because it could be a facade. You know what I mean? It could be she likes something.
She did like golden showers.
Listen. Do not. But, hey, but here's the thing. But if she came out and said 3 years from now, I was influenced for that to happen, it wasn't really my thing. He introduced me to that. I didn't really like it, but I liked him. What would everyone's response be?
I knew it. That's it. It just lays credence to Cassie's lawsuit.
I mean,
And not even just Cassie, though. I mean,
Right.
There's a lot of stuff with him going on with the whole, Tupac situation, too.
I mean, there's a lot happening. What I
Mace,
can say is, like I said, and I mentioned this on Thursday, word for word, a couple of the stories that were in that brief were on a message board a couple of years back. Like, word for word, the description of what happened, what he did, what she supposedly did. Now, I don't know. Don't know if it was true, but it's just odd that the same story was relayed there in 2009. The same story about what happened with Kid Cudi, and the car was relayed in like 2013 on this particular board as well. Don't know. But again, it's his and hers right to settle and to close the chapter on that. And, I don't think that we know maybe he'll write a book years later. And I told you his best excuse is going to be, I was hooked on prescription drugs. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But I just think that it's going to be stuffed down and it'll be whispered about like the rumors have been whispered about for years, but really kind of is what it is. Do you think that is why, because obviously he's known about this, but do you think that is why he's been donating and giving the publishing back, kind of building up goodwill with the public, because he knew that this could potentially come down the pike, and he has the racial lawsuit against the liquor distribution company?
100%. I feel like I stated it before. That's one of the reasons why, he's on this love movement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe not so much the Cassie lawsuit, but just everything else that was going on with, all of his former artists talking about, the publishing and all that other type of stuff, the whole Tupac situation coming back up or whatnot.
Right.
And then now you have Cassie with the lawsuit. I mean, I just feel like he's known what he's done over the years. And I think being in them circles, I'm sure he didn't heard some things. I'm sure he didn't heard some threats. So he was like, you know what? This stuff might actually be real. Let me go ahead and just switch up my energy so I can get that positive energy back.
Do you think that it's funny? We were talking about Shug has his podcast. I can't remember the name of it, but his Collect Call podcast, and they said he's going to talk about this. Do you think that Diddy has any regrets for how he handled some of this?
100%. How could you be an individual talking about love, you feel me, and not think about some of your transgressions? You know what I'm saying?
Do you think, as the father of 4 daughters, he, thinks about maybe some of his behavior with women, or is it always, that's they kids? Not with my kids over here, but that's they kids.
I don't know. I don't know if that was an influence, but I want to put it past him.
I certainly can imagine he wouldn't want them hearing about it. So, well, anyway, again, peaceful journey to both. And hopefully everybody involved can move past it and feel better. So I think this is important. There is a pushback against the large surge of misinformation online. So California will now require all students from kindergarten through 12th grade to learn media literacy skills. They'll be taught things such as recognizing fake news and thinking critically about the topics and subject matter that they encounter across the internet. So Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill last month. It's Assembly Bill 873, and it requires basically the state to add media literacy to the curriculum. So along with English, language arts, science, math, and history, social studies, it's going to begin rolling out next year. And instead of it being a standalone class, it's going to be woven into existing classes and lessons throughout the school year. So, I guess ways that can be applied in science. Certainly we can think of how that could be important. We saw, the conversation around things like the vaccine and so forth. So people can find ways so that they can be educated no matter what decision they want to make. They can sift through what is fraudulent and what is not. And I think it is especially important. It comes at a time when the Pew Research Center, a 2022 study, found that adults under the age of 30 are nearly as likely to believe information on social media as they are from a national news outlet. Only 7% of adults have a great deal of trust in the media. So we see so much happening, so many rumors, so many things that things that sound crazy to some, a lot to me sometimes, but I think it is important to be able to filter the information, to at least understand where this information is coming from, maybe why they would be inclined to feel this way. I'm not saying that the choice has to be A or B. Things are personal. People develop their own thoughts and feelings through education. But I do think that it is important to give them markers and telltale signs and things to look for and ways to research further, because people are just believing headlines at this point and not taking one step further to even read or to kind of get more information for themselves. It's just a headline and yep, they're right. Some random person on TikTok. Sure, I believe them. You don't believe your homegirl, your mom, but you believe this random person on TikTok. Andy.
But yet I'm supposed to believe old dude on the channel 11 o'clock news at night. These are the same individual, not the news people, but,
right.
I'm going to just say the system at whole. This is the same system in elementary school that taught you that Christopher Columbus discovered America.
True.
And how long have we believed that lie? And these are in our school textbooks. So people want to diss YouTube University and stuff like that. Man, I done learned a lot from YouTube University that I probably wouldn't have never learned in school.
Exactly, but you also learn the discernment, right, to look beyond certain things. the law might be. I don't think, for me, the idea isn't necessarily to get rid of alternate viewpoints or some things that are questioning. It's just giving them the tools to utilize discernment in the situations. You know what I mean? To be able to recognize if this is a credible source. Well, where are you getting your information from? Just like you asked the question about Christopher Columbus, we now have the ability to go one step further, to clarify, to make sure that this is truthful, to make sure that there are some sources backing it up. And I think those type of things are important. Not necessarily just to say, oh, it's not true. It's not true. Don't believe that. There are conspiracy theories. They exist.
They are
Things
true.
happen.
That some are true.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that, but I do think that, especially too, with AI, we don't know what that's going to transpire into. We don't know what that's going to mean. We don't know visually. We don't know voice wise. What's wrong? You not feeling that?
No, I was just gonna say, is AI not a conspiracy theory or a conspiracy in itself? I mean, this is something that might potentially take away jobs from people.
Yeah, I mean, not potentially, it will.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not a conspiracy, though.
Listen.
Come on.
Listen. It all is, but you got to be aware. You got to know, because some of these AI videos, they're pretty good. Some of those, there was just a testimony in Congress about a lawyer who received a call from his son. His son was saying, "Dad, I was in a really bad accident. I hit a car with a pregnant woman. They're taking me to jail. They said they're giving me a public defender. The public defender called. They were trying to have all of this thing." And the man was a lawyer, and he almost got caught up. And it was perfect AI of his son's voice until his son called him on FaceTime like, "Nope, Andy." He's just like, see?
Look, I'm not against AI all the way. I think, to your point, people need to do their due diligence, you know what I'm saying? Because I do think that there's some pros to it. But, I just don't feel like even the media itself should be taken, 100% as law. You know what I'm saying? Do your research too. You watching your local news, do your research on some of them stories, because there's cats on Instagram right now that be out here in the community, in the streets, doing real news. That's as facts. Opposed to what you see on your your regular TV.
That is facts. When we come forward, we're gonna get into this ASAP Rocky story. Are we too lackadaisical about all of the legal problems that our rappers are getting into as lately? It happened back in the day, but doesn't it seem like it's more and the charges are more severe each and every time? We're going to talk about that. Plus, we are going to get into that Sharissa Thompson story and Angel Reese. More. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is on the other side.
Ask anybody who running AG, but they gonna say me ASAP. Hating on PSC, get straight ASAP. Try to play me, I'ma blow 'em off the map ASAP. I know a lot of rappers don't like me, but they won't fight me.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A second suspect wanted in connection with last month's mass shooting at HBCU Morgan State University has been arrested. 18-year-old Javon Williams was taken into custody by Washington, D.C. police and is charged with attempted first-degree murder. The October 3rd shooting injured 5 people during a homecoming event at the Baltimore City University. Williams was also the target of an interstate fugitive warrant stemming from a D.C. guns and conspiracy case. Actor Wayne Brady is recovering after getting into a car accident that ended with a fight in California. Brady's car was hit by another vehicle in Malibu Sunday night. When Brady and the other driver pulled over, the two got into an altercation that turned physical. The other driver fled after the fight when Brady called the police and was eventually arrested for battery, DUI, and hit and run. Brady is reportedly just a little banged up and is taking it easy for the time being. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
The ocean absorbs a lot of our carbon emissions with the help of marine plants and animals. Sea otters, for example, help restore kelp forests and coastal wetlands that trap carbon. Learn more about these fuzzy climate warriors at the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, so there we were, cruising through the new open-air zoo, when I realized that the park was closing in like 15 minutes. Luckily, we were in my Nissan Rogue. With its powerful VC turbo engine, well, we had time to see all the animals. Whoa! And outrun a few!
Drive the Nissan Rogue.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, Southside, where you get all that drip? Yeah.
FBG, YSL, no just was bragging, yeah. Told my story, got it clear by your daddy, yeah.
FBG, YSL, what's happening in? Richard Mill, all this shit, what's happening in? Louis Vuitton, bandana, but what's happening in? D4L, stunner man, say what's happening in?
Going home, you know they shake. What's happening? Go inside, you better back in.
Oh, my right wrist a Ferrari. For a breed American, she call me Poppy. Room, Hellcat, give it to the goons. On that Earl Manor go, shooting it out the spoon.
You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, VIPs, for checking us out. Remember, if at any time you have commentary that you want to add to this conversation, you can hit us up, 800-920-1580. So, on that ASAP Rocky tip. So, today, Monday, it's been announced that ASAP Rocky is going to stand trial in January after being accused of firing a gun at his former friend, crewmate, I guess, is that how you would call ASAP Relly? Because they weren't in a group, but, you know, they're like folks, right? So at a preliminary hearing today in LA, a judge determined that there was sufficient evidence to move forward with the trial. So he's been accused of firing a semi-automatic handgun at his former friend after a heated discussion, and the trial will kick off in January, right? ASAP has pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of assault with a firearm. The incident allegedly happened in August 2022. And let's see. Does Snare Traplet running? No, my bad. The incident was November 6, 2021. He was supposed to begin trial August of 2022. Right? So his lawyer says that he is certain that Rocky will be vindicated from all of this. During the hearing, Detective Frank Flores, he took the stand, and there was new surveillance video unveiled. So that is out there if you want to check it out. In addition to that, there was more evidence that was shown at a prior hearing that was earlier this month. In the new footage, you hear 2 loud pops. And the prosecution team is alleging that those were, heard but not necessarily seen. So, excuse me, we'll have to see what ultimately happens with this case. But we have ASAP Rocky. Of course, we have what's going on with YSL and Young Thug. We know there's some things with G Herbo. All of these cases, back and forth. Is it time to take all of these charges against in the hip-hop community a little more seriously? Or have we moved past the point where it's almost like one part of the marketing plan? Because everyone seems to have an open case or will get one at some point. And I just wonder, is it too passé now? Do we take it seriously? And I know there is nothing the public can do in theory about this behavior and some of the things that are happening, but are we rewarding bad behavior at this point by not really, we kind of mentioned cancel culture earlier, and I don't all the way agree with cancel culture because I think it's unrealistic, but should we be demanding a little more from our rappers and celebrities? Andy?
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay.
I think some of these music labels, they need to stop trying to sign individuals who have been involved in the streets.
I think that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying go ahead and sign some nerds or anything like that, but like I just saw this one individual, I'm not going to say any names, street dude, youngster or whatnot. And I saw that he had a meeting at I believe it was Interscope Records. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, there's so many other talented and look, I've listened to this individual's music. His music is okay. He has talent. I will give him that. But he does appear to seem like somebody who could have some cases down the line. But I just think that some of these record labels, they just need to go ahead and, you know, find another J. Cole out there. There's definitely some J. Coles and Kendricks out there. I mean, you could be from the neighborhood, but, you know, like,
not be of the element.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just feel like record labels need to go ahead and dig deeper when it comes to, you know, finding artists.
I agree with that. I mean, you look at something like Blueface and Krishan. They are dysfunction on a stick, right? You know, whatever, violent, maybe not violent, all of these things that are happening, right? And they're just gaining and growing in popularity. People say, oh my God, the behavior, but those views keep increasing. People keep wanting to have conversations with them. I just, you know, again, I know it's part of the culture. I know that everybody comes from different environments. I know this is just how we do. I know that people have to go through a growth process. But I do think now more so than before, I'm not going to say we haven't always rewarded bad behavior or that, you know, I won't say it hasn't been encouraged per se, but that it hasn't, you know, we'll turn our head if we like your flow a little bit, right? We'll give you more of the benefit of the doubt than maybe we would someone else because you can spit a hot 16, right? We see that across the board. But is it time to kind of say, hey, you should sit down for a little bit. And if you get yourself together, you know, we'll still be here for you. But I mean, people hit the streets and are rolling out with a new album. And I'm not mad at it. I know you got to keep pushing or whatever. But it's so much a part of things at this point. I just wonder what it really says. Andy?
I got to keep it balanced now because I went in on the, you know, the industry and the record labels or whatnot. Now I got to go in on the consumer.
Facts.
Us as consumers, we love drama. We love negativity. So I can't blame a record label for wanting to hire somebody who was involved in the streets because you know what? This individual probably got some impeccable stories to tell.
Right.
And you're going to be tuned in. So I think us as consumers, we have to check ourselves too. I remember, I mean, and I don't know if this is just our nature. I remember it didn't matter whether it was elementary, middle school, high school, college. If there was a fight, it don't matter if you was at the tables and the fight was at the basketball court, you are running to the basketball court just to see a fight.
I mean, we like a little mess, right? We like a little mess. I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, this isn't an indictment on A$AP Rocky. The video, we'll have to see what comes out in court. Didn't look good, but we'll see what happens. You know, shout out to him and Ree and their beautiful baby. Shout out to the blonde Ree. Rihanna's rocking the blonde right now. She looks really good. So anyway, we'll have to see how it evolves, but I just wonder, we talk a lot about hip hop. We talk about the lack of artist development. We talk about all of these things, but one thing, no matter what, that's still across the board, still seems to work is that affiliation to the streets, right? It's a quick marketing trick that has not, I mean, not everybody wins, but it doesn't fail, really. It doesn't seem to fail. When we come forward, we're going to get into Sharissa Thompson. We're going to get into Amber Rose. We're going to try to get into Ace Hood. All of this and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, this next story, I feel a way about it, but I also understand, again, why some people might feel like it's overblown, but I think it underscores a lot. So Sharissa Thompson, wait, say it again. Carissa. Okay, it's Carissa. My bad. Carissa Thompson. She's white. She was a sideline reporter on Fox. She also currently is a host on Amazon Prime Video's Thursday Night Football, right? She previously hosted an afternoon show on ESPN. You know, she has been around the sports industry. Recently, on a podcast on Barstool Sports, she admitted that when in her early days, she would sometimes make up reports when she worked as a sideline reporter before she transitioned to her role as current host, right? And people were very upset. She said that, you know, a lot of times if she couldn't get the coach or whatever, nobody would be mad if she basically was like, you know, we got to protect the ball more and, you know, give more effort in the second half or something like that. So on one hand, to be fair, no matter the sport for the most part, when you see those sideline reports, those quick reports, the coaches, the players, they never really say anything. It's true. You know, they aren't giving you any real insight or information. So I do understand to a degree from that perspective why if you couldn't connect anyone, you basically both teams played hard and kept it moving, right? Nobody noticed. Nobody called her out about it, right? To my knowledge, this is not the first time that she has mentioned this. She had her own podcast, And about 2 years ago, at least, she mentioned it before. It's just that it happened to catch on this time. She has since come out and apologized. She said, "When on a podcast this week, I said I would make up reports early in my career when I worked as a sideline reporter. Working in the media, I understand how important words are, and I chose wrong words to describe the situation. I'm sorry. I have never lied about anything or been unethical during my time as a sports broadcaster. In the absence of a coach providing any information that could further my report, I would use information that I learned and saw during the first half to create my point. For example, if a team was 0 for 7 on third down, that would clearly be an area they need to improve in for the second half. In these instances, I have never attributed anything said to a player or coach. I have nothing but respect for sideline reporters and for their tireless work they put in behind the scenes and on the field. I am only appreciative and humbled to work alongside some of the best in the business and call them some of my best friends." So, of course, what she said has caused a lot of criticism from people like Lisa Salter. She said, "Shocked, disappointed, disgusted. What we heard today called all sideline reporters into question." Now, I don't know about that. I think that, one, we got to stop acting like, and I get the perspective, but she doesn't speak for everyone. No one is going to look at Pam Oliver, Lisa Salters, Doris Burke when she was on the sideline and say, "You know what? They're lying. They're making stuff up." You know, I understand the thought of a pretty face, empty head. They're just there to be eye candy anyway, right? But what I do think is she should have kept that information to herself. Before I go forward, Andy, what do you have to add?
I just feel that they should do away with the sideline reporter unless they're actually interviewing a coach or a player.
I mean, they're supposed to with the things, but even with those things, they don't say anything. Like, it really is kind of a waste of time. Like, have you ever heard anything really insightful or shocking or even like, ooh, when you were watching a game, any football, basketball, during those little pop-ins with the coach?
Maybe not so much, but I mean, if Darvin Ham says something that I'm already thinking, then I'm like, okay,
there we go.
It makes me feel a little
right.
good, like, all right. But
so then we shouldn't get rid of them because then that it does something for the fan, right? Or maybe you're looking at their body language to read between the lines of what they're not saying.
At the same time, it's not necessary. I think the post game is what's more interesting as opposed to mid game. Because I remember they used to interview Greg Popovich, and Greg Popovich was not giving you anything in the middle of the game.
Nope, not a word. So, I mean, people have reached out to both Fox Sports and Amazon for comment, but neither really had anything to say. Amazon is basically like, she wasn't with us doing that, you know, and she's moved on. Well, is she still with Fox Sports as her day job? I'm unsure about that. But like I said, what I do know, she really should have kept that to herself or just shared that with her homegirls. Because you know people are going to judge and then they're going to start with the thing. It infects us all. We all look bad. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that is an overdoing it. What I do know, though, is that if that had been a black woman saying something like that, if Jamel Hill was like, "Oh, when I was doing college football, I made up something about the game that was happening," it would be hot fire. She could be unemployed. They would want you to retroactively go back and rescind her salary or something like that. So in that aspect of it, I do believe there's the privilege that we talk about, because a black woman would know, even if they did that, under the same circumstances, not to say anything, because they would be judged much more harshly. And even though she is getting some heat, people are still kind of like, whatever. I don't know what the expectation is. I mean, she said it was very early in her career. It's a number of years later. I don't know it's something worth being suspended or fireable for. They don't even know, what game or point it out. I do think people are a little bit, you can't share stories in the same way that you could before, just anecdotes, because people take things really to heart. And like I said, it can't just be, I learned something about this person. It has to be, I'm either on this side or I'm on this side, and you got to take a choice. And sometimes I don't feel like all of these issues are worthy of that. But allegedly, it happened in 2008. Like I said, her podcast is called Calm Down, and in 2022, she discussed that as well. So, good luck to her. She'll still have a job, Tony Yayo says, we can't do away with jobs. Thomas Outlaw says, it was okay to not say anything. Just the fact that she said something proves privilege. Agree. Shutting up is free and profitable. It sure is, but guess what? She's not going to lose any money behind this. Nobody's going to look at her funny. Nobody's going to say, maybe we shouldn't question her. They're not.
And I don't see this too crazy as a big deal, because when you look at or listen to a lot of these podcasts with current athletes, former athletes, they are unveiling they're unveiling behind the scenes of what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't even know why, what was her name? Lisa Salters was offended. I mean, like,
I think sometimes we feel like, especially with social media, and people are like, well, what's such and such going to say? People feel like they have to say something. And if they don't say anything, it either means they agree, they're complicit in some type of way or something. Like Joe Budden, people were really upset with Joe Budden's take on the Cassie and Diddy situation. They felt like he should say more. He should have, more of an opinion about it, and he should have more to offer. And they felt like he didn't have anything to add because him and Diddy are kind of cool, and Diddy might have smoke for him.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. One thing I do respect that Joe said about it is he felt like it's silly to have to come out and say, I don't support assault, violence. Like, why do we have to say that and clarify? Who is really like, yeah, it's cool for you? Nobody. So why do we have to come out and make these statements that are really just so that people can have something to talk about? It's all fluff. We don't need as much fluff in some of these instances. And I say that as a talk show host that focuses on trending topics and headlines. But I think it's okay sometimes to infer you probably don't agree with that, and to, make those adjustments. Listen, when we come forward, more trending topics, more headlines. We're going to talk about Boosie, Snoop, and something Daz threw in the mix that has me with a couple of questions. Shout out to Thomas Outlaw in the chat. He says, as a journalist, quotes get adjusted or cleaned up, but it helps to not open your mouth. I agree wholeheartedly. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Shorty keep on knocking back the shots, better pace this. Whoa, whoa, bank knows presidential faces. Whoa, whoa, bank head started seeing spaceships. Whoa, we just started, she impatient. Now she want a butt lift, now she want some lacy. Just to see the bag clear, that way she could chase it. Hey, I remember grade 6, I was up in Payless, trying to get some A6. Now I'm Nike down in the snake pit, now I'm